Still this morning on ITV, the first segment. Of course, here we take a look on aviation, both locally and internationally. And of course, today we are going to be looking at a topic which the discussion behind the camera says is going to be controversial. And what will be controversial in this topic? It is aviation, Nigeria Air, flag carrier, national airline or national carrier. Well, I want to ask, what is the difference between national airline and national carrier? This will be done through the eyes of your number one aviation freak, a man who has touched so many continents when it comes to issues of aviation programs and events. Mr. Gordon Ike, his details are there. He also doubles as licensed estate surveyor and valuer. Very good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Joe.
How was your weekend?
Wonderful as always, Joe. And how was yours?
Very beautiful.
Wow, thank God.
Aviation, Nigeria Air, flag carrier, national airline or national carrier? What is the difference between the national carrier and national airline?
Joe, by the time we do clip number one, you will see the proposed structure of Nigeria Air that was put down for, by government. What they call KIV in the civil service, keep in view. While it's remaining in view, I want to really further educate this nation and the world indeed that national carriers don't need to be specially established government-owned airline. We can actually invest in existing airlines and make them our flag bearers and our flag carriers, run all over the world, sign as many as BASA, the Barata Air Services agreements with many nations, as many as Open Skies agreements, with many continents, and pump in all the required money, support them, and they'll be flying everywhere as the pride of Nigeria.
What you're saying is that Nigeria should support one of the private airlines?
Not just even one, as much as 1, 2, 3,
No, I'm just using one.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
We don't have the resources to go.
All right, fair enough.
More than one for now. So if we use public money to fund private sector, where is that done in the world of aviation?
No. You see, you're not getting how it works. This is going to be some financial arrangements that will be made. Every naira put in that project will be gotten back by government, and the image that the government receives all over the world becomes really profit, free profit. Profit that you're okay, don't call it free, you invested money, go back your money, but you are having your image, really everywhere any of those flag carriers touch down in the world, they say, oh, here comes Nigeria. And that is good news. I'm going to show you today, a lot of awesome nations and awesome airlines you hear about are completely off the governments of the states. You're going to see, I compiled all those to bring home this hard fact. So I want us to begin to rethink Nigeria Air. That's why when we're
using any of the private air.
That's correct. That's why when we're discussing before we came into the studio, I jokingly said to you, this is going to be controversial, but I am going to defend it because it's based on correct information. It's based on feasible projection, and it's going to be viable. More feasible and viable than a brand new airline. Remember, as soon as it was mentioned that we were having Nigeria Air, the existing airlines began to agitate, if you remember. And then I had advised them if it happened, they should take advantage by engaging in some wet and dry leases of the airplanes, the brand new airplanes that the new awesome Nigeria Air will bring in, make their money without necessarily investing huge sums of money. You know, I had given that free consultancy on air, you know, to them, but then along the line something went wrong, and in the wisdom of government, government decided to KIV the project. It's still being kept in view, but as it's sitting in the archives.
No, but who is a freak in the aviation? You can give us an insight why you think government KIV that.
Well, a few things were not right. A few things were not right, and you don't want to be flogging a sleeping dog. It's better to let it lie and lie peacefully. You know, a few things went wrong, which we exposed. I would ask you to go back to my blog, www.aviationfreaks.com. and watch the title "A Word with Dr. Obor." That's the title, "A Word with Dr. Obor," the foremost whistleblower in the nation. If you take a look at that, it's up there in the air on your YouTube. Listen to it once again, and you see all the issues highlighted. We don't want to waste our time because we have about 6 clips to go. You know, going back to those.
We are starting the topic,
and shortly after.
But we will try as much as we can, because that is really important for Nigerians.
Yeah, that's right.
What happened? Why?
It is important also for us.
Took Nigerian money to the UK. You know, have this project launched, and few months after the launch, it is suspended. It is important
also to us that Nigerians learn to visit our blog. It is also important to us that Nigerians learn to visit our blog, go to the YouTube.
Yeah, but we can also we can always talk about the summary of what we have in our blog.
I'm not going to repeat that. Go to the blog. It's there forever and ever. It will survive me.
Clip 1.
Yes, it will survive me. And it's there for all times, for Nigerians and for the world.
Let's just start that.
A Word with Dr. Obor, and then you begin to get an idea. A few days after that, government in its wisdom KIV'd that project. And so it was a wise decision. But let's move on now. Proposed structure of Nigeria Air. If you give me 1 second, I need to program something quickly. Yep, here we go. Yes. On November 8, 2018. The 5th Aviation Stakeholders Meeting held at NAF Center, Kado, Abuja, FCT, Nigeria. At that meeting, the Honorable Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, unveiled a 63-page document outlining the proposed structure of the airline to be known as Nigeria Air. According to the Minister, a committee report submitted in September 2015 recommended a private sector-led national carrier with 10% federal government ownership and non-involvement of government in the management of the airline, but the provision of enabling environment for its operation. So the government was supposed to provide enabling environment, but won't participate in any way in the running of the airline. This presentation aims at distinguishing between a flag bearer, national airline, and national carrier. Viewers can then use their discretion to determine where Nigeria Air belongs. Clip 2 very quickly, please. Flag bearer. Flag carrier, rather. A flag carrier is a transportation company that, being locally registered in a given sovereign state, enjoys preferential rights. Do follow this line by line and graphically so that you will get the point that we are bringing across. I'll start again. A flag bearer, or rather, a flag carrier is a transportation company that, being locally registered in a given sovereign state, such as Nigeria, for instance, enjoys preferential rights or privileges accorded by the government for international operations. This term also refers to any carrier that is or was owned by a government, even long after their privatization, when preferential rights or privileges continue. The meaning of this is, even when government diverts completely but continues to support privileges, that carrier is still known as a flag carrier. That's what this whole definition is talking about. The maritime law requires all aircraft or ships to display the state flag of the country of their registry. Hence, the name flag carrier. A flag carrier, if it is a certificated airline rather than a holding company, conglomerate, or multinational private equity firm, may also be known as a national airline or a national carrier. Did you get that? Okay. These terms can, however, have different legal meanings in some countries. Clip 3, please, quickly.
Okay, now, before we look at this
clip 3, yeah.
The first two that you have turned out, that preferential treatment in a place like Nigeria, where government is said to have no business doing business.
That's correct.
In a place like Nigeria, where we are busy privatizing, establishment previously owned by government, how can that preferential treatment be achieved?
When you talk about preferential treatment, you're talking about a government that is emotional and attached to an airline for the sake that this airline is propagating its image all over the world. That's what you're looking at. The benefit that government gets from it is the fact that its name, the name of that sovereign state, for example Nigeria, is not missing in the world arena. Anytime some plane is descending into New York, somebody is looking up and saying, oh, that's Nigeria. Anytime it's descending somewhere in Japan, some Japanese speaking their Chin-Chon-Chong language and say, hey, that's Nigeria. and so on and so forth.
It's beautiful, beautiful.
That's right.
The way you are saying it is, I'm sure it's very clear to our viewers.
Oh, yes.
But one want to ask the question, for some smart Nigerians that may be in such a carrier, with the flag, wow, this is Nigeria, may want to use that to,
How?
Yeah, I mean, the name Nigeria is like a meal ticket.
No, but this is an airline carrying passengers and moving from one part of the world to the other and making money, employing Nigerians, expanding, just like, I mean, the awesome Emirates that's got their airplanes in thousands at the moment. Remember, these guys started with only 2 aircraft, two, borrowed. That's how they started. At a time when Nigeria Airways had 32 aircraft belonging to us. They borrowed 2. Today they have them in thousands, brand new, crisscrossing this entire globe. And today, our Nigeria Airways is no more. And we are struggling with starting yet another one. We can't do it until we set out sincerely to get it done properly and with brains that will help do it sincerely and properly. It's the only way. There's no other way, Joe.
All right, let's move on to
clip 3, please. Here we go. The term by the way, the title is right there for you. Flag carriers are not necessarily government-owned. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Very well. The term flag carrier is a product of the era when countries established state-owned airline companies. You see how that's how that came about. But a lot of responsible and intelligent governments around the world have come to the realization that that is not working and that's not in vogue anymore, and they are all washing their hands, but still retain them as, you know, flag carriers. We can do the same in Nigeria. Due to the high capital cost of setting up and running airlines, governments took the lead. Although not all such airlines were government-owned, some flag carriers around the world which were privately owned include Pan Am. I remember Pan Am so well. TWA, that I remember also. Cathay Pacific, that I flew that from Brussels to Hong Kong, or rather, wait a minute. Yes, Brussels to Hong Kong, and from Hong Kong to Taiwan in 1988. Yes.
That's
at that time, guess how much I paid for my ticket from Nigeria to all those. To tell you how much we have destroyed ourselves here. We must work hard and get back to where we were. I paid only 3,000 naira in 1988 to travel to Taiwan. And by the time I got to Brussels, it was Cathay Pacific that did the job, that took me all the way to Hong Kong, and then from Hong Kong we hopped across to the island of Taiwan, Taipei City, Taiwan.
For just 3,000 naira.
All for just 3,000 naira. By today you'll be doing a couple of millions to get that done. So let's move on. The term flag carrier is a
Union. We are in Union, the transports now. After
oh, sure. All right. That's fine. I got that. Thanks a lot. So I said Cathay Pacific, Union de Transport, Airline. That's written in French. Canadian Pacific Airlines and Olympic Airlines. This is just a few examples. We're going to see more shortly of.
They are privately owned.
Yes, but they are flag carriers.
Flag carrier, right?
Okay. They were considered to be flag carriers as they were the main national airline and often a sign of their country presence abroad. So you see, anytime any flag carrier leaves Nigeria and goes to any part of the world, Nigeria is right there, live. That is the image, and that's quite expensive. The aviation industry is so heavily regulated that aviation rights are usually negotiated between governments. Can you see the trick in this business? Right. Hence, denying airlines the right to an open market. Can you see the government connection to this, and the complication, which the French people always say, il est très compliqué. That's how they say it in French. Il est très compliqué. It's very complicated. All right. Okay. Let's move to clip 4. Clip 4 very quickly. Here we go, Joe. Flag carriers are not necessarily government-owned. Continues. Bilateral air transport agreements (BASA) specify rights awardable only to locally registered airlines, forcing most governments to financially support their own to avoid being disadvantaged in the face of foreign competition. Did you get that? Right. Most countries establish flag carriers for the nationalist reasons and to aid the country's economy, especially in the area of tourism. In other cases, governments directly assist in the growth of their flag carriers through subsidies and other fiscal incentives. That we can do here, Joe.
Yeah, but that is where the trouble may come.
Tell me how.
Yeah, which are you going to favor? Which will you not favor?
Joe, we are always too
we have
sentimental.
A, B, C, D.
Now listen to me,
Airlines,
Joe. Yes, I get your
they're
point.
all in business, and they all want to.
You are now thinking like the average Nigerian thinks, and that's why we are not making it as a nation. That's a problem I read in your thought process. Let me change your thought process.
That is what everybody will ask.
And I want to answer you now.
Are you going to give subsidy to?
Joe, listen now. Why are you not listening? Listen. We must put an end to this kind of thought process and begin to be real in dealing. What this requires is set up a committee of professionals, import one or two professionals from outside as consultants that will sit in with local ones and set the parameters. If you meet this, meet that, you're qualified. And then call all the airlines to answer the questions that are posed by the parameters and score them. Whichever one that comes top on the scoring wins it. That's the way it works. No emotions, no sentiments. Come on, Joe.
You think it will work that way?
Yes.
But how come we have, when biddings are done, the companies that will eventually emerge have not even registered?
Because sometimes you put,
not even registered.
Joe, because sometimes you put blockheads to go and do the job that they are not cut out for. That's why we don't get it done.
So how
putting round pegs in square holes and square pegs in round holes.
How do we know these blockheads?
Easy to find.
How?
That's not why we're here, Joe. We can talk about that again.
Okay. All right, let's go.
So most countries establish. We're still on click forward. Most countries establish flag carriers for nationalist reasons and to aid the country's economy, especially in the area of tourism. We've seen that before. In other cases, governments directly assist in the growth of their flag carriers through subsidies and other fiscal incentives. With the signing of open skies agreements, a country can designate multiple airlines to serve international routes. You get this now, this last paragraph, and you see what we mean, or I mean, because this is me coming out and talking to my nation. With the signing of open skies agreements, a country can designate multiple airlines to serve international routes, resulting in having multiple flag carriers. Nigeria can therefore support existing local airlines to upgrade into national flag carriers. That's my point.
That's your argument?
My argument. Clip 5, please. And here. Now I'm supporting my argument with hard facts that anyone can verify. Some examples of flag carrying airlines that are not government owned. Here are some flag carrying airlines around the world that are not government owned. Number 1, Qantas Airlines in Australia. Ceased to be state owned since 1992. Number 2, Austrian Airlines in Austria. Ceased to be state owned since 5th December 2008, now owned by German Lufthansa. Biman Bangladesh Airlines ceased to be state-owned since 23rd July 2007. Number 4, Brussels Airlines in Belgium, currently owned by Lufthansa, and yet it is a flag carrier for Belgium, but owned by another foreign airline.
Germany. Lufthansa.
Come on, Joe must begin to think and join the world.
He's working out there.
Yes.
Can he work here?
The world is a moving train, and just like technology is a moving train. It gets to your platform, opens the door for you for a few seconds. If you don't step in, it leaves you on the platform, moves on. He has no brakes. It only stops for a few seconds for you to join. If you join, it takes you along. So we must learn as a nation to join, so that this beautiful train can take us along to our desired destination as a nation. We can't get anywhere running around a circle and behaving the way we're doing at the moment.
But you know,
we must change.
We must have some requirement for us to join the train.
Very well. Number 5, Air Canada in Canada ceased to be state-owned since 1989. Hard facts that anyone out there can verify. Latam Chile in Chile ceased to be state-owned since September 1989. Clip 6 very quickly before I'm chased away from here. Some examples of flag-carrying airlines that are not government-owned continue. Number 7, Scandinavian Airlines, jointly owned by Denmark. Look, listen to this, very interesting. The Scandinavian Airlines, jointly owned by Denmark, Norway, Sweden as a joint venture. It's just like Nigeria, Benin Republic, Ghana, or Nigeria, Ghana, Cameroon, Liberia, or Cameroon, or any of those as joint venture.
And their flag.
And it becomes our joint flag bearer. That's what's happening in the Scandinavian Airlines. It's jointly owned by Denmark, Norway, and Sweden as a joint venture. Has anybody ever had this in Nigeria?
So moving on.
Yes. Number 8, Air France in France. French government owns only 18% share. The rest of the shares are privately held. Number 9, Georgian Airways in Georgia, fully owned privately. Number 10, Lufthansa in Germany, ceased to be state-owned since 1997. Cathay Pacific in Hong Kong, privately owned, and an awesome airline. It was.
Well, I think we have looked at that in clip 5.
No. I mentioned Cathay Pacific. Yes, when I mentioned some few examples of privately owned.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So, Airline in Israel ceased to be state-owned since June 2004. State currently owns a minority share of 1.1%. Joe, that's LR for you, or in Israel. Okay. Japan Airlines in Japan ceased to be state-owned since 1987. Air Senegal in Senegal, fully owned privately. Swiss International Airlines in Switzerland, owned by Lufthansa. Lufthansa is busy buying up all the European airlines.
Okay, now.
British Airways, state-owned until 1987.
Right, now, what do you want to achieve with this?
Yes, Joe, with this, I'm simply, trying to influence government to say we can keep Nigeria Air in the archives forever.
So if you are going to set up a criteria for Nigeria, of course, to pick flag bearer, what would that criteria be?
No, I'm not going to share it here. That will come in form of consultancy. If government needs me, they should call me and I'll help them. Come on.
Thank you so much.
I am not spending all night burning my oil.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Get out this.
I'm sure that this will be jumped at by, of course, relevant authority watching. The ministry, of course, is there. NCA can, advise government on this. FAN can also take the lead by advising the ministry on this. And well,
and Joe, the interesting thing. The interesting thing. If we were to tow this line, we would need only just 1/10 of money we would have pumped into Nigeria Air to achieve a beautiful flag carrier out of one of the airlines. Just 1/10 of that would do the job.
Okay, Mr. Godwin Ike is available to be contacted and be contracted when it comes to the issue of giving criteria on the airlines that can be Nigeria's flag bearer or carrier. We'll take a quick break.
If you don't mind, do me one more favor. Post again my contact details, because I know this is going to be controversial. Anyone that wants to have further conversation with me, please get that information. Give me 1 second. Can we have this on the screen, the contact details? Let's talk about this. Let's hold conversations. You've got my numbers there. And then, of course, you've got the YouTube channel, and the website, the Twitter. Please, let's get on with it.
Okay,
this is the good of our nation.
On this segment, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, the program this morning on ITV continues.
Thank you very much.